Mark Zuckerberg's election season gift to Republicans. Analysis by John Passantino. It's a 5-minute read. This is earlier today. Meta's CEO Mark Zuckerberg attends a Senate Judiciary Committee hearing on online child exploitation at the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C. January 31st, 2024. So it was earlier this year. So CNN states Mark Zuckerberg is handing Republicans political victories ahead of the 2024 presidential election, acquiescing to years of GOP grievances over his company's policies. In recent days, the Meta chief executive has made noteworthy public statements implicitly supporting right-wing censorship narratives and offered praise for Donald Trump as badass, even as he claimed he wanted to appear neutral and nonpartisan. On Monday, Mark Zuckerberg sent a letter to the powerful House Judiciary Committee stating that the Biden administration had pressured Meta to censor content during the pandemic. Very interesting. It seems to line up with Mark Zuckerberg's statements he was making to Joe, he was referencing the conversation he had with Joe on Joe's podcast, on the Joe Rogan's Experience. Those statements seem to line up exactly what is going on here. So in 2001, senior officials from the Biden administration, including the White House, repeatedly pressured our teams for months to censor certain COVID-19 content, including humor and satire, and expressed a lot of frustration with our terms when we didn't agree, Zuckerberg said. The Meta chief added that the pressure he felt was wrong, and he came to regret that his company, the parent of Facebook and Instagram, was not more outspoken. Now, hold up, folks. I want to pull up this exact post so we can all look at it here. We're going to go to PBDs. Shout out to PBD. Oh, he didn't share it on him? Okay, hold up. Here it is. Elon Musk did. Of course he did. Shout out to Elon Musk. Let's pull this up here just real quick. Get an idea of what's going on here. So this is from the House Judiciary GOP. This is from their Twitter account. Or X account, excuse me. Number one, Biden-Harris admin pressured Facebook to censor Americans. 2, Facebook censored Americans. 3, Facebook throttled the Hunter Biden laptop story. Big win for free speech. That's crazy. That's a House Judiciary GOP X tweeting out there or posting out there. So this is Meta, one hacker away. Menlo Park, California, 94025, the United States. Once again, this is Meta. This is August 26, 2024. Today is August 27th, 2024. So this happened yesterday. So we're covering it right now. Let's get into it. It says the Honorable Jim Jordan, Chairman, Committee on the Judiciary, United States of House Representatives, 2138 Rayborn House Office Building, Washington, D.C., 20515. Chairman Jordan goes. I appreciate the committee's interest in content moderation. Or this is to Chairman Jordan, in content moderation on online platforms. As you're aware, Meta has produced thousands of documents as part of your investigation and made a dozen employees available for transcribed interviews. Further to our cooperation with your investigation, I welcome the opportunity to share what I have taken away from this process. Okay. There's a lot of talk right now around the U.S. government interacts with companies like Meta, and I want to be clear about our position. Our platforms are for everyone. We're about promoting speech and helping people connect in a safe and secure way. As part of this, we regularly, hear from the governments around the world and others from various concerns around public discourse and public safety. In 2001, senior officials from the Biden administration, including the White House, repeatedly pressured our teams for months to censor certain COVID-19 content, including humor and satire, and expressed a lot of frustration with our teams. When we didn't agree, ultimately, it was our decision whether or not to take the content down. And we own our decisions, including COVID-19 related changes we made to our enforcement in the wake of this pressure. I believe the government pressure was wrong, and I regret that we were not more outspoken about it. Wow. I also think we made some choices that, with the benefit of hindsight and new information, we wouldn't make today. Interesting. Okay. We continue. Like I said to our teams at the time, I feel strongly that we should not compromise our content standards due to pressure from any administration in either direction, and we're ready to push back if something like this happens again. In a separate situation, the FBI warned us about a potential Russian disinformation operation about the Biden family and Burisma in the lead up to the 2020 election. Wow, that's crazy. That fall, when we saw New York Post story reporting on corruption allegations involving then Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden's family, we sent that story to fact checkers for review and temporarily demoted it while waiting for a reply. That's crazy. It's since been made clear that the reporting was not Russian disinformation. That's insane. And in retrospect, we shouldn't have demoted the story. Wow. We've changed our policies and processes to make sure this does not happen again. For instance, we no longer temporarily demote things in the United States while waiting for fact checkers. Wow. And Mark Zuckerberg continues, speaking to Jim Jordan. Apart from content moderation, I want to address the contributions I made during the last presidential cycle to support electoral infrastructure. The idea here was to make sure local election jurisdictions across the country had the resources they need to help people vote safely during a global pandemic. I made these contributions through the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. They were designed to be nonpartisan, spread across urban, rural, and suburban communities. Still, despite the analysis I've seen showing otherwise, I know that some people believe this work benefited one party over the time. or over the other. My goal is to be neutral and not play a role one way or another, or to even appear to be playing a role. So I don't plan on making a similar contribution this cycle. Very interesting. Respectfully, signed by Mark Zuckerberg, the founder and chairman and CEO of Meta Platforms Incorporated. This is the Honorable Gerald Nadler, ranking member. Wow. And then what do you know? Let's go through the comments and see what we have in the comments. Mark Zuckerberg is just a front man. Facebook is owned and operated by the United States government. Listen to this French billionaire whistleblower has control of more sophisticated intelligence data than NSA. Everything he said has come true. Mostly peaceful memes goes. What when? No one will be punished to dissuade this from happening again. United States Marine Corps Lady Vet. So this was election interference. This was 14 hours ago. Odin's Man. Shout out to the homie Scuttlebutt. Shout out to Jameson locals. A win is you doing something about it. Admission without consequences is not a win for American citizens. Conspiracy time, man. Somebody posted that. Gunther Eagleman. Now imagine if he had a real Speaker of the House. Or excuse me, now imagine if we had a real Speaker of the House and a GOP with a spine so that we would do something about this. Free speech is a God-given right. Elon Musk, freedom of speech is the bedrock of democracy. If the truth is suppressed, it is impossible to make an informed voting decision. The degree to which freedom of speech is being undermined around the world is extremely alarming. Here's Mark Zuckerberg admitting all of this on Joe Rogan's show 2 years ago. I mentioned this. Let's go check this out.
Item that's controversial. Like, there was a lot of attention on Twitter during the election because of the Hunter Biden laptop story. The New York Post.
Yeah, we have that too.
Yeah, so you guys censored that as well?
So we took a different path than Twitter. I mean, basically the background here is the FBI, I think, basically came to us, some folks on our team, and was like, hey, just so you know, like, you should be on high alert. There was we thought that there was a lot of Russian propaganda in the 2016 election. We
Russian
have
propaganda.
Notice that basically there's about to be some kind of dump of that's similar to that. So just be vigilant. So our protocol is different from Twitter's. What Twitter did is they said you can't share this at all. We didn't do that. What we do is we have, if something is reported to us as potentially misinformation, important misinformation, we also have this third-party fact-checking program because we don't want to be deciding what's true and false. And for the, I think it was
Gives it to a
5 or
third party,
7 days when it was basically being determined whether it was false, the distribution on Facebook was decreased, but people were still allowed to share it. So you could still share it, you could still consume it.
So when you say the distribution is decreased,
It got shared.
How does that work?
It basically, the ranking in newsfeed was a little bit less.
Yeah,
So
right.
fewer people saw it than would have otherwise. So it definitely.
That's
By
crazy.
what percentage?
I don't know off the top of my head, but it's meaningful.
It's
But
significant.
basically, a lot of people were still able to share it. We got a lot of complaints that was the case. Obviously this is a hyper political issue, so depending on what side of the political spectrum, you either think we didn't censor it enough or censored it way too much. But
Right.
but we weren't sort of as black and white about it as Twitter. We just kind of thought, hey, look, if the FBI, which I still view as a legitimate institution in this country, it's like very professional law enforcement, if they come to us and tell us that we need to be on guard about something, then I want to take that seriously.
Did they specifically say you need to be on guard about that story?
No, I don't remember if it was that specifically, but it basically fit the pattern.
What? Yeah, dude. they really did pull up to you and said, "Hey, man, that's what it seems like to me. That's what it seems like right here." I mean, it's not even what it seemed like. He like states it very clearly. This means that the midterms were fraudulent and the whole Biden administration should go to jail, dude.